Tech, and I can remember how fun it was to be in New Orleans for a week and spend that time with my teammates. And Virginia Tech was a really tough team, and they played better than we did that day, and they got the win. But what a great experience it was to play in that bowl game in 1995. I guess it was January 1 of 96 probably, but it was the 95 season.
How big was it for Texas? I mean, the Sugar Bowl at the time wasn't, an SWC Big 12 tie-in. It was to kind of get there. It was weird for a team like Texas to be in that game.
Yeah, that was the last year of the Southwest Conference. So we beat A&M in College Station to win the last Southwest Conference championship, and was invited to the Sugar Bowl, and we were very excited to get that opportunity to go play on that kind of stage.
What do you think of the current makeup of the Longhorns program? I mean, obviously sitting at home at bowl season this time around, but a lot of hype, getting Quinn Ewers in the transfer portal, hiring some new coaches. What do you think of Steve Sarkisian after the first year and what they're looking like potentially heading into year number 2?
You know what? It takes time to build a program, and it doesn't happen overnight. And you've got to give a new head coach some time to implement his philosophy and bring in his recruits. So we're still optimistic. Obviously, we want to win now, but we understand that it does take time, and I think that we're going to continue to get better, and hopefully we'll get back to the Sugar Bowl soon.
So I'm glad we have you on, Dusty, because the Sugar Bowl, John Sudsbury, who's the media relations guy, is the one that recommended we call you because of your time with the Sugar Bowl, and they honor you for not just the fact you played in the game, but a lot of things that you've done. You're an incredibly successful businessman, real estate to all business. You also helped your father extend his life, which is what you would think any son would want to do if there's that possibility, or vice versa. And then also, when you played linebacker at Texas, you wore Tommy Nobis's number 60 as a captain at the University of Texas, and Mac Brown once said you were the ultimate leader and perfect middle linebacker. Go back to what that meant to wear Tommy Nobis's number that game.
Yeah, I remember Coach Brown called Tommy Nobis to get his permission for me to wear that number, and Tommy said it would be an honor for me to wear that number in the Cotton Bowl and in my very last game against Mississippi State. And when I put that number on in the locker room, I felt like Superman. And I think we held Mississippi State to -6 yards rushing in that bowl game.
Jackie,
wait a minute, how much?
Yeah.
Minus what?
-6 yards rushing for the entire game.
Was that Jackie Sherrill was the coach there then?
He was, yeah.
Oh, he must have been hot. How about that?
Oh, my Lord.
It was a day of total domination. I mean, they couldn't – there was no doubt who the better team was after that game.
So how much does it hurt you sometimes? And I know that they're trying to go through this transition with Sarkisian year 2, and Craig mentioned the trying to reload or load up the roster. When you watch the defense, last year they struggled. This year at times they struggled. How frustrating is it, even though it's a different game today in college football?
Coach Brown used to always say there's a lot of parity in college football. He said anytime you're in an interview and you don't know what to say there's a lot of parity in college football.
Yep.
It's that's why they play the game. These teams have great recruits, great players, great coaches. You just never know who's going to come out with the win. So it's all about preparation during the week and during the season and getting better every day. That's what it's all about.
You were huge underdogs in the first ever Big 12 championship game, and in Nebraska was coming off back-to-back national titles. And I won't forgive you for what happened that day because I'm a lifelong Nebraska fan, and that's hard to be right now. But what I know James Brown made the comments. They were it. They were what ran college football during that time. What was the mentality once that game was set and that week before that game?
Well, I can remember James making that that statement in the paper, and we all backed him up. Said, you know what? If he's going to come out and say it, we're going to make it happen. And so we went into that game super fired up. I think it's Coach Makovic's best speech he ever gave. I was telling my 16-year-old son about that game, that pregame, just yesterday, and the speech that Coach Makovic gave. He said our motto for that game was "Carpe Diem," seize the day. We were playing for all the underdogs in the country that day. You know, nobody believed that we could do it, and we shocked the world. We came out and beat the team that was supposed to go on and win the national championship right after they played us.
What was, of course, it ruined my, as a Florida State fan, it meant that Florida had to play Florida State again, and we got lucky the first time in that year. Dusty, what was that like transferring the transfer from Makovic to Mac Brown?
You know what? That very different coaching philosophies. Coach Makovic was more of an offensive coach, offensive-minded. Coach Brown was a little more defensive-minded, I think. And Coach Brown, I mean, when you play for Coach Brown, it's like you're his son for the rest of your life. I mean, you always have access to him. I still text with him and talk with him. 20 some odd years later, I played for him one season, and it's like I played my entire career for him.
Yeah, and man, I tell you what, he turned that thing around, and you had to get over the hump. Eventually, Texas did with Oklahoma, and they did, and the rest is history with what he did for so long. What are your thoughts about right now the coaching changes? You saw coaching change. Paul just brought that up from Makovic to Mac Brown. Yep. It worked out for UT, but it seems like it's more prevalent now than ever before as a player within a system. It seems like it happens now, Dusty, so much more frequently, and I thought it used to be pretty frequent in the first place.
Yeah, Texas is a tough place to coach. It's one of the toughest places because of the media, the expectations, the politics that you have to. You have to be a politician off the field and an outstanding national championship quality head coach on the field. And, it's probably one of the toughest jobs in the country when it comes down to it.
You are a successful businessman. You told me, in fact, you had to go on a business trip the last couple of days, and you stopped so you could be a part of this show. What about the transition from being a football player and a leader to how does that affect and how has that impacted you as a businessman?
Well, I learned a lot from Coach Brown and from all of my other coaches, and just being a leader on the field. It taught me a lot of leadership skills. And there's no substitute for hard work. I took that same attitude into business, and I just don't let anybody outwork me. You do what's right and work harder than everybody else, and good things happen.
The fact that you were able to help extend your father's life, and obviously most sons would do that, you would think, and most fathers would also do that. What was that like? Because I know it wasn't just the kidney. It was also making sure your father was healthy enough for that to happen in the first place.
Right. He was required to lose over 100 pounds. He lost a total of about 120 pounds.
Wow.
And I worked out with him every day. I moved my entire family into his home with my mom and watched every bite that went in his mouth. We cooked for him, and I even went to work with him to make sure that he wasn't eating anything that I didn't know about. And he lost the weight in about 4 months, and nobody gave him a chance to lose that kind of weight. The doctors really didn't think he could do it because they don't see that very often. And I told him, I said, well, you don't know what you're dealing with here. This is life and death, and we're going to make it happen. We have to. We have no other option. And so I just took a page out of Mad Dog's book, our old strength coach in Texas, and It was all about that hard ass work, like he always said. That Hall.
Yeah, Mad Dog. I'm glad you brought that up, man. That was a dude. That was a dude. Hey, Dusty, thank you. John Sudsbury, the Sugar Bowl I mentioned, brought you up. It's a Believe in the Champions, and Dusty Renfro, the UT linebacker and great businessman, and what he also did for his father, and also the Tommy Nova story. Thank you so much for sharing some of your time. We won't keep you from getting back to what you need to do, but thanks a lot. Great to have you on the show.
You're very welcome. God bless. Thank you.
Dusty Renfro. We Believe in Champions, the All-State Sugar Bowl. Thanks to John Sudsbury for setting that up for us.